Hey there, in today's video I am just quickly showing you the steps I take and the decisions I make when I put together the art greeting cards that I send to people and that I sell on my website. So I know that many of us have made handmade cards for years, and I have kind of streamlined my approach, and also I'm fairly ruthless when it comes to like, no, I don't want to, this one isn't ready to be put on, to be made into a card. So I know, like, you probably also have lots of little mini pieces of collage and artwork and things that you don't know what to do with, and often this is what I do, is I cut them down to a certain size and then I adhere them to a greeting card, and then they're just sitting there ready for me to send out for birthdays or get well or whatever the occasion might be. So anyway, I hope that you find this helpful and encouraging, and I hope you make your own greeting cards with your own personal artwork, because it is as simple as the steps that I'm going to show you. So I have my artwork sorted into two piles. The pile that is already cut down and that I might consider for attaching to the cardstock, and then I have a pile that I feel like is fairly unfinished that I'd like to add some more things and or it needs to be cut down. So I'm ready to test these out, but I thought first I would show you how I cut down the art, and then I'll show you how I make decisions, and then how I attach it to the cardstock itself. I have a Fiskars rotary cutter that I've had for years. It actually folds up and it's pretty easy to store like this. You can use it in this smaller size, but I tend to always just open it up and use it in the full size. And there, I guess I have my camera a little too close here, but I wanted just to give you the idea of it. Now, all of my cardstock that I use is 5x7, so I always know that. I used to use all kinds of random papers, different sizes, had a million different envelopes, and I don't do that anymore. I just stick to plain white 5x7 cards, and that way I always know what I'm using. Everything coordinates, and I don't have to worry about various envelopes and various colored papers and things like that. So the first thing I'm going to show you is, if I were to use, say I'm going to use this, and maybe I would if once I cut it down, it's kind of amazing. Once you cut something down, you can kind of trim off the parts you like or you don't like. Now, I do know, because my card is 5x7, I typically want my artwork to be 4x6. Or maybe even a little bit smaller. But it makes it easier for me than if it's some random size and then I'm trying to square it up on the card itself. Because I tend to eyeball things. I need other things to be a little more perfect, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time measuring. I'm going to eyeball when I attach this to the cardstock itself. So for example, on this one, what would I do? I'm going to look and see. It looks like I'm going to cut an inch or so off each direction. So I might look and say, what part, I really like this little part over here. So then I might start by cutting this side. And I know that this is going to end up being at least 4 inches. So I can cut it to 5 or more, knowing that I still have a lot of room, a lot of wiggle room. So sorry if that's moving the camera. Okay, and I think I'm going to cut a little bit more, because actually, maybe I'll go to the bottom, because that's kind of how I do it. I kind of go around the card, and then I determine what parts I like and what parts I don't like. So I really still like this part here. I'm not liking this as much, and I think I need to take a little bit off the top. So let's take a little bit off the top. We've got a ways to go to get to the 6. So, okay, I'm liking that better. I'm going to take a little bit more off here. And you could just go straight to 4x6 right out of the gate, but I kind of not always sure what kind of composition I want remaining. And so I like to do it kind of a little bit slowly, like I am now, like I'm showing you. So let's take a little bit more off the top. I do think I might want a little more off the bottom, so I don't want to take everything off the top. So, okay, I'm liking that. Composition is coming better. It's more and more. Again, I'm going to leave this side because it's my favorite, and I like the interest that's going on over here. This is a little more uninteresting to me. So I'm going to maybe consider going all the way to 4 inches. I'm not quite there yet. Okay, so we're getting close though. I'm going to take, I kind of don't like that up there, but I also want to take just a hair more off of here. So let's take a little bit there. Okay, perfect. And let's take the rest off. Let's get it to 6. So now I'm at my 6 inches. Ooh, yep, just do it. Okay, so there we go. I'm gonna take a little bit more, I think, to get to 4 inches, and we're good. Okay, so as you can see, just by kind of going around the card, I was able to find a composition that I actually like, and I would definitely put this on the greeting card. So that's what I would make suggestions for you to do, is if you have a whole bunch like this, if you think they're ready to go, obviously this one's plain, although you could just have a plain black card, then, just start cutting it down and see what you end up with. If you don't like it, obviously, for me, I'm working on scrap pieces of paper. It doesn't really matter. It can always end up in the recycling bin if I get it too small. But wait a second, let me show you something. When they get too small, I have a little bowl that I have cut and cut and cut. And most of these, now these are on the top, not so much, but these back here, they started as these cards. And then I just keep cutting them down because I didn't like what they look like. But now I use them as tags. When someone orders off my website, I tend to wrap up the package in wrapping, and then I use one of these cards as kind of decor, different things. But I use these for all kinds of stuff, so I keep a little bin of these. Now these are a little bit different. This is actually a book cover, and I have done encaustic on that. That is for another day, but I just wanted to show you that I do keep a little bin of the little leftover ones, and that no scrap is wasted, is what I wanted to say. So, okay, let's move on to the next step. So I have my stack of art that is cut down to 4x6 or smaller. I have my cardstock that is ready to be folded. I have a bone folder, which you wouldn't necessarily need to use. You could use your finger or a credit card or something like that. And then I have 2 kinds of tape. I have foam tape, and I have, the double-sided tape, foam, which has a little bit of a thickness, 1/4 inch, I think, or 1/8 inch or 1/16 inch. And then a non-double-sided tape that's non-foam. It's just regular. So those are the things that I use when I'm preparing to make my cards. So basically, I buy, a big lot of unfolded cardstock so that I just have it in a box ready to go. And then I prepare them. Actually, I make most of my cards just 1 at a time, or like right now, like maybe I'll make 10 at a time, but I don't make 50 at a time usually. So the first thing I do is there is a slight perforation in the card stock that helps with the fold. I do not do this with any kind of exactness, but I obviously try to find the fold, and then I use my bone folder to fold it. Now I will say I probably did that on the wrong side, because when you're doing this, some sides will leave. You can see this is a little bit rougher edge. So if I had folded it the other way, then you typically do not end up with that rough edge look. So anyway, just be aware that there's 2 sides to the fold, and one way will give you a nice crease on the outside, and the other you might have to experiment with that, and maybe you can get both sides to do it perfectly right. So that's as easy as that. My cards are ready. Now, before I even start taping anything on, I have my cards. A lot of times I just have one ready to go, and then I take this stack and I go and I put one on. And this may seem silly. It seems like I could just decide without doing this, but I look at it and decide, do I like that as a card? Would that be something that I send to somebody? Would it be something I could sell on my website? Those are the things that I think through. So this one I actually do like, so I will keep that. So I kind of will go through this stack and make some decisions, and then turn and decide if I like it. I'm not sure about this one, so I'm going to set this one aside. So that's kind of how I go through them. I do like that one. I feel like that one's too boring. And then I have some little ones. And I'm not saying I don't do little ones. Actually, I kind of like that one, even though it's very plain, very neutral. But I do like it. What I do is, if I do not cut it to 4x6, then I go down to 3x5. And that's about as small as I get. And these are 3x5. Because after that, I will put them into my bin of tags. So I will go through and make decisions based on what I think. I mean, it's personal choice. I get to decide, right? Because it's just like you go through with your art and you decide what you want to do. And so then those will go back into this other bin that I have, and I can make some decisions about adding some things to it, or maybe it just, I don't know, they just get moved somewhere else, or they get thrown out into the recycling bin. So, because a lot of it is personal preference. I thought I had more of these already that I liked. And this one, okay, this one I've already signed because obviously part of this was on a card before, or some part of it. And then I decided I did not like it. I can see, because I have double-sided tape there, that I've already done that, and I cut it off the card, and then I wanted to do something more to it. So I should have noticed that. So oftentimes there's not as many. Initially, I think, oh, I really do like that, but then once I'm going through them, sometimes I don't really like them as much as I thought, and so then I will hold off and try to add some more details or more to it. And then make some decision, try it again. So I do like my ones with the ladders, they're favorites. I don't know, that one I like the ladder, and then this is the one we just cut. And now you see, once I put it on the card, I'm not sure if I do like it. I think I do. I think, that's fine. Okay, so that's how I make my decisions. It's really personal preference. It's the yes pile over here, the no pile over here. These go back, and maybe they'll get some additional paint, they'll get marks, they'll get whatever they need, and then I'll try it again. But it just, that way I'm honing it down until I get to the ones that I actually want to turn into cards. So the next step will be putting tape on the back. I almost always use, that's why I have such a big roll, the foam tape. Now, when I do not use the foam tape is in a situation like this one, which you can't really probably see, but this one has already been on a card. It has foam tape, and it doesn't need to be any thicker. It's already thick enough. It's got, multiple layers. And so for that one, I would use the non-foam tape. So basically what I do is, I will just take this one as an example, is I do not cut and measure. I actually put the tape right on there. To be honest, what I do, and I just use my finger to break it off. I do not care if it's exact or perfect. That's not, I just doesn't, I put enough tape on there that it's fine regardless. I will say I do like doing this kind of thing when I'm watching, like I might be in my art studio or, watching TV or something at a table where I can watch something or listen to something and do this at the same time, because you don't really need to pay attention to totally what you're doing. Now, obviously, I'm being careful that I don't get it over the edge. So, and this is a little bit bigger roll than I usually have, because obviously I've used them down. And like I said, I'm not exact. So you could be exact. You could measure this, and then you could cut the tape with actual scissors, and that would work as well. So, but I put quite a bit on just because I want it to be, I don't want part of it to be, I don't know if soft's the right word, but to be not held up firmly on the card. So, okay, that's pretty much how I do it. That's it. So then what I would do all of them, put tape on all of them. Then I would go on to the next step, but I will show you, it's pretty straightforward, So I would do the same thing with the non-foam tape on this particular card, or the ones that have been used before. And then we'll go on to the next step, which is to adhere them onto the cardstock itself. One thing I forgot to mention was, usually prior to putting the tape on, I will sign the little artwork before. You can sign it after you put the tape on, but sometimes if it's the foam tape, it can be a little bumpy. Now remember, most of these are, at least the pieces that I work on, they're heavily textured, so you do need a pen that will write over the top of whatever you're working on. So I'm using a Uniball Vision, and the next step is to take the tape off and then adhere the artwork to your greeting card. Now it does appear that I did not press this down real well, so I would definitely make sure your bone folder has folded that very you've pressed down very hard so that you have a nice, surface to put your artwork on. Okay, so my tape is not coming off as well as I would like. There we go. Okay, so I can see that I actually already got this one dirty. Figures, you have to be very careful that that's how those end up being backdrops for other art. Okay, and then I made the mistake of signing this card on the wrong side. So pay attention to that. Actually, no, I did have it like this. Okay, well, I'm going to set this one aside and show you this one instead, because that is not very smart of me. So those things happen, so you have to be, paying attention, obviously, better than I am. When I'm on camera, I do tend to get a little bit sidetracked and am not working maybe the exact same as I would be if I wasn't on camera, because then I'm just quietly, working away. Okay, so I have my artwork, and now to put it on. So you could measure it, you could have little marks for yourself, but I have found that for me, I actually just eyeball it and try to get each of the sides, obviously even. And if I make a mistake, then I just take it off and I try it again. So that's pretty much it. And then I buy envelopes separate, so white. So I have a big stash of these greeting cards, and then I have a stash of envelopes. And I will show you kind of the next steps that I do just to finish this up. The final step is I print out on just mailing labels my website, so that if someone receives this card and they would like to buy more, all they have to do is look at the back and at the very bottom, because from my signature, they're not going to be able to identify what or where the card came from. They'd have to ask the person. So I take a label and I just put that at the bottom. You could easily write that. You could easily write your name. I know there actually are stamps that you can buy that you can do this. I've just found this is the simplest way for me, because often I wouldn't stamp this until the card was already together, and then it's a little bumpy, and so your stamp wouldn't come out accurately. So you'd have to go ahead and do some of those steps ahead of time if you were planning to use a stamp. So I have my envelope, I have my card, and so what I do in order just to protect this, because I have found that, like this card here, it doesn't take much, and then all of a sudden you've got a card that was perfect, and now it has a mark on it. So I try to keep them, the envelope and the card together, once I've finished all of this, and then I just keep it in a sealed cellophane bag. So then it's all ready to go, and then I keep all of these together in a bin. And so then when the time comes that I want to send a card or, whatever, sell them, then I have them all ready to go. And then I can just look through and decide which one I want to send or which one I want to sell and how that needs to play out. So anyway, these are the steps that I do in order to make my greeting cards. And so I hope that is helpful to you as you convert your little mini arts into beautiful greeting cards. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.